All right. Well, this is Jeffrey Sherman, and we're now with Dr. Eric Lopkin on the fifth installment of Carnivore Bites, our weekly podcast on issues that are in the news and in the world events. And Eric, I think one of the things that's really interesting is, it's always been touted how unpopular Donald Trump's been. But after a year and a half of being assailed by the traditional media, he now is over 51% approval rating in Rasmussen and others. I think it's even higher than that. What do you think?
It probably is higher because, again, most of these polling companies haven't changed their methodology since the election. So they're still missing his core backers. And they're really
I agree with that, but I also, being out and about and meeting people and meeting maybe people for the first time and kind of, getting to know them, it's very interesting, Eric. And there's one person in particular that I met. And when I first met her, she was like, basically completely being very anti-Trump. And then as I got to know her, she's actually pro-Trump. And I wonder how many closet Trumpians are out there. I think it's more than you may think. I think it's just socially acceptable and almost required, not required, expected to be anti-Trump. And to say you're pro-Trump, you have to be a closet Trumpite, is my point.
You're absolutely right. And one of the things that we've seen just over the last 2 weeks that really indicates this was the reboot of the Roseanne sitcom. Roseanne has been a vocal Trump supporter. And her show beat everything in the ratings. And they dealt with the election in the first episode, which basically beat every scripted program that's been out in the last 5 years. It actually set ratings records because it showed that despite what the media was trying to portray, that the Trump supporters were all right-wing wackos and misogynists and sexists, what it showed was average, everyday Americans supported him because they were tired of politics as usual, and he talked about things like jobs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And one thing about the Democrats, I don't think they really even know how to spell jobs. There was a time they were supposedly for talking, and it's going back many years. I mean, it's over 20 years now that they were the party of the common person, and they were for the middle class. I don't believe that. And I think most people don't believe that at all, do they? I mean, I think they are the elitist party, not the Republicans.
Well, the Democrats have been elite for quite a while because they've always been, the university mentality, the professors, things that, theoretical rather than what's actually affecting people. But I think what's really going on is no matter which party you support, you can only get your heart broken so many times before you go, all right, you know what? I cannot support them anymore. And that's what happened to the Democrats in this election.
Well, I think it's going to happen in the midterms. I think the midterms are highly overrated. I mean, there's been, obviously, the Republicans have lost some seats, yes, but there were horrible candidates, a child molester, that other stiff from Pennsylvania. I really think that the only way the Democrats can get elected is to lie, because their message, there is no coherent message. And if it is a message, it's a message that most average Americans cannot relate to at all. Even this open immigration, that's an elitist stance. For the average American, they want borders. When you're at Yale, Harvard, and you're in San Francisco or Boston, you love open borders because everyone's the same, and to have borders, you're a racist. Isn't that correct?
Well, that's what they're trying to put forward. I think they've still got a better than even chance of progressing in the midterm elections because Trump is popular, but Trump does not have coattails. Trump is not a Republican. So they're not running against Trump, they're running against other Republicans. And they're going to keep pushing that image of the Republicans as the right-wing wacko. So even though people are supporting Trump, they may still be able to pull their support away from the Republican candidates.
Well, I think in conclusion, I think, yes, they will pick up some House seats. I think they still keep the Senate, and I think their gains will be muted because in the big scheme of things, the Democrats, and as things progress, we have, almost a year or 8 months remaining. When you see them on TV juxtaposed to Trump, they just become so out of touch, so crazy, most Americans can't relate to it. But Eric, that concludes, I think, our 5th edition of Carnivore Bites, our weekly podcast on current and timely issues. And until next week, Eric, another great little podcast.
See you then.
Take care.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next week.